Hello lads and ladettes, today we are doing another Ultimate Guide video, and today we are going over the Crimson King himself, Diavolo, the bleed god, as some people, not everyone, only me say, but let's go over him. Is he good or is he crap? Let's talk about it. Of course, if we want to talk about a character, we have to go into their abilities. So he is a raid / stealth mark character. What he does, basically just bleeds. There's a lot to go over here. I'll go over it quickly. So this is his King Crimson ability. Diavolo summons King Crimson for a rapid assault, deals 156 physical damage to 3 enemies with the lowest HP, plus 20% damage against shielded targets, 50% chance to inflict bleed, and then if the target is less than 50% HP, launches assault against the lowest HP enemy. That's basically, he does a follow-up attack and does a big follow-up attack. If assault hits, applies revive ban on the enemy with the lowest HP, deals, and that does its own abilities, plus true damage, whatever, and then stacks 5 times bleed once per round. And then of course at the very end, awaken 5 physical damage to dealt everyone, 100% chance to inflict bleed. Skill will be replaced by Time Erasure. Releasing Time Erasure instantly triggers the bleed effect on the target. And yeah, that's just that ability. Really good ability, really fun ability as well, especially with the follow-up attacks, which we'll see in a moment. Another one, his basic attack, basically just has a chance to do bleed, and then in max level increases damage dealt to targets with bleed by 15%, so he does more damage to bleed targets. And then basic attack damage is increased to 90% with a chance to inflict bleed to 70%, which is not bad, just constantly applying stacks of bleed, which is what we love to see. Time Erasure, this is a bit of a different one. I'll just read I believe I can just read the end one here. Attack 45 increases to, of course, HP, attack, and crit. When the team HP is less than 80%, Diavolo will clean all debuffs on himself and enter Doppio Concealment. King Crimson's skill will be replaced by Time Erasure. Damage dealt by Time Erasure skill is increased and also applies that of ban. Doppio Concealment means a 30% dodge chance plus rage per round. Skill will be replaced by Time Erasure. In that state, Diablo becomes untargetable by single focus attacks while allies survive and gain control immune for 4 rounds. This cannot be dispelled. Interesting ability. Helps out. He also does a whole other stuff in here. There's actually a lot to go over here, but that's what his third ability. Fourth, Diavolo Foresight Fates through Epitaph Inscriptions. At the start of battle, applies Dread to all enemies. And what Dread does is does HP reduction from healing, I believe. Is that what it does? Let me just read it. Dread to all enemies, dread plus 5% damage taken for 3 rounds, undispellable, marks all enemies with Imperial Death Sentence and grants all allies control resistance till the battle ends. Imperial Death Sentence, when all allies deal damage through bleed, deduct the target's max HP by 60% of the bleed damage dealt. The amount of deducted each time cannot exceed 5% of the target's max HP, and the target's new HP cannot be reduced below 30% of the original max HP. This effect cannot be dispelled. Basically, he just shrinks people's HP over a long battle. It's actually really not bad ability. So, I know you've seen it before, but I just like to show it off because I think it's just such a cool ability. Like, damn, that is sick. And of course, does all that good stuff. That is that there. Let's go into his awakening. First awaken. So of course, gets the initial rage. First awakening, physical damage dealt by rage skill is increased to 232% with a 100% bleed. I actually read this one already. Let's move on to the next one. The usual plus 10% speed or rage. Then the next one, Time Erasure. Doppio's Concealment state during is extended to 6 rounds. While concealed, grants Diavolo 10% attack, 20% damage reduction, just sort of keeping him alive. Then Epitaph, initial times 2 bleed stack, HP reduction from death sentence. So basically, he applies 2 stacks of bleed, which more stacks the better. And then of course the awakening burst, 25% damage plus 15% crit rate for 4 rounds starting round 3. Oh, that was a lot. So that's in there. Cool costume as well. That's his normal one, but I of course run the Phantom Don. To show off the gear, of course. Usually I would prefer the Joseph balls here, but that's currently on my Jonathan. But I'm also running so that's what I would prefer on him, because he's sort of one of your big damage dealers that you would be using if you are using him, and he just does a lot of damage, and of course critting and stuff like that is fantastic on people. And then as well, but also Josuke Bubble being able to just do multiple releases in battle is nice, being able to constantly apply bleed in that rage stack. And then also when it does hit, the revive band is also very handy. Of course, the abilities you want to go over is Annihilate, the revive band. He's just a revive banding machine in this sort of revive heavy meta, certainly helps. So having that Annihilate helps a lot. Physical combo, because he does, when he basic attacks, bleed, getting him to trigger another or with physical skills at the cost of half the chance to induce effect, and also just getting him to attack as much as you can. Not really with Emperor to do follow-up attacks, but physical combo is very, very handy for him, just to keep applying more bleed and more procs of that. That's sort of the main ones. Of course, the usual one is crit as well, is always fantastic. Just any of the usual damage and rage ones that we've talked about in the past. For example, also physical attack as well, increase that damage. And then that's all I had. I wouldn't use this one, but hey, you get maybe even lifesteal. That'd be a fun one. Probably not the best, but that's a fun one there. Or on top of that, have agility, have more dodge chance. Reforge. Where is it here? Agility, get him more dodge, and just make him unhittable, which is a funny idea that you could do. Or look, I don't recommend it, but even the decreased healing, like if he's already doing it, might as well compound that effect even further. Okay, that's those ones there. Fantastic. So that's there. Teams to build with him, of course. You can go with the usual Hermit team. Sort of one of the things, I don't think it's really necessary because the amount of times he procs bleed. But what you could do if you're thinking is do a bleed team. Now, TNT, who does bleed? There's only 3 characters that apply bleed off the top of my head. I think Bujarati applies bleed, and Mista. Sorry, there's only 3 Hermits that apply bleed, I should say. Diavolo, of course. Vamp Dio applies bleed. And then Risotto actually applies bleed and a whole other bunch of effects because he's insane. So if you want to, I don't really think it's necessary, but if you do want to cater to it, you could do a Diavolo and Risotto, which is fun, or Diavolo and Vamp Dio, but I do think Vamp Dio is behind the ball there, so for Risotto, I don't think it's entirely necessary, but I feel like if you are going into that bleed team, you would of course want to use him. Of course, if you're running Hermit, Funny Valentine is fantastic. With him, I think he is a good, just like helps out the team. So if you do want to run some, for example, a Johnny Joestar or a Gyro and GE, then certainly, of course, or you could just run a full Hermit team with Diego Brando as the tank. You would always have a tank, so him, Diego, Diavolo, Funny Valentine is your 3, and then you could have whoever you want just to help out, or you could do a bleed disease team. You know what? Might as well throw in a 1, 2, 3 there. Might as well throw in a Risotto, throw in a Toru, throw in a Fugo. You know what I mean? Just keep the stacks up of buffs and just slowly chip away at their damage. It's quite at their health, quite fun. So that's an idea you could do there. That's usually it. I think he's sort of compatible in different ways. I would definitely think potentially there are other characters you should get first, and people aren't really focused on him at the moment. But once they get back into it, I think there may be a place that he could shine. Of course, we are still seeing where the meta happens next year with new characters released and stuff like that. Now, those are the team comps that I should do, builds and stuff like that. Of course, actually, before I mention it, there is a really fun build I really want to talk about. AC/DC has an ability where is it? Here we go. Is a buff. AC/DC performs Flame Flow plus 10% damage on targets with bleed. So I've always thought of a fun build where you upgrade AC/DC and you put them on your team, and you have Diavolo, Vampdio, Risotto, and you have, I think, you could have Mista if you want to apply bleed, and also Bujarati to apply bleed, and then you have also AC/DC as well. I don't know if it works or not. Please, if you have time or have them up, let me know. I just find it very, very funny that AC/DC could potentially be insane doing extra damage to it. I don't think it would happen. It's just a funny thought. Just thought I would mention that. So of course, let's go on to the damage numbers. So if I go over to Hero Challenge here, let's just do a couple of these ones and just see what happens. Let's see here, 135 million. Bit behind the ball there, especially with Josuke's bubble. Especially because maybe not. Let's try a different one here. Let's see if he just can rack up some damage. I don't think. I wonder if Josuke's doing insane. Let's show off some different numbers. So it's definitely not like he's doing insane damage at the moment. Let's replace this with this. And does Johnny have? Yeah, he does. It's fantastic. Let's see what happens here now. Oh, not summon Hero Challenge. Let's see what damage Diavolo is doing with that now. Bit more funny. I don't know what Funny's doing. Funny is doing absolutely insane things. He probably has a lot better cards on him. Let's do it again just to see. 270. Funny. What is on Funny? Why is he doing? Unless he's just a beast and he just likes doing lots of damage. Maybe that's fair enough. Or maybe I should put that on him. Oh well. It is what it is. He's probably getting a lot of damage from his start of ability damage. What I want to try here now is let's take Johnny off for a second. And even though he'll have no abilities, let's take Johnny off and add Koichi in just to see what the armor break does to the damage, and also not let him steal it all. That's okay. Now that's okay. Look, showing off his damage and stuff like that. Do I think Diavolo is good? Yes, I honestly believe he is good. But the problem is that if I give a final rating on him, I still think he's S tier. Potentially SS. I feel like you do have to cater to him a bit more. And I know my tier list, I did put him in SS. And I will stand by him. I think he's a fantastic character. Bleed is fantastic. He has cool abilities. His overall damage is a bit look, I'm not running the best perks on him. Whatever on him. But I still think that he does have a place, and especially in the meta as well. It's just one of those things that unfortunately he was the third character that ever came out in Goldenstone. So I've said it before in the past, but Gappy came out first, and Gappy is really lackluster, unfortunately, which sucks because he's my favorite stand is Gappy, or favorite Joestar. And then GER came out. So let's show this off here. So the first one was Gappy, of course, and then the second one was GER. And GER's okay. He does have some things, however, the main reason why people use him is for the team revive, and it's exceptional, and he can do a little bit of damage and healing and stuff like that, overall supporting. But then Diavolo came out, and Diavolo, when he came out, was insane, of course, because he really good. But then, of course, power creep happens, and people like Johnny, people like Funny Valentine, potentially people like Gyro, somewhat of Fugo, and even Toru, just seem like they outcompete these people. And then and even Diego. So for example, like I talk about in that tier list video, everyone is basically using definitely the same three characters. People are using Johnny, Funny Valentine, and Diego. Now on top of that, people are also using GE because he's the best healer and support in the game. So then you go, okay, I have 2 slots free. Basically is what's happening, because you have the 4 best characters in the game and you want them on your team. Who do I have instead? And unfortunately, when you narrow the list, it goes down real quick. Do you have a Koichi? Do you have a Gyro on your team? Do you rather use Kakyoin? Yeah, do you rather use a cat coin? Hell, do you even want to use a Gappy? Do you want to use a Risotto instead? Do you want to use a Toro or Fugo? Do you want to use an Enya? And so that's where sort of potentially Diavolo falls a little bit shorter on that list and behind, unfortunately. Just because there's potentially other characters that may combo well instead. For example, you already have 2 disease characters. Would you want to prefer to just do a disease and keep applying stacks of disease? Potentially. That's just one of the things there. So I still highly rate him. There is other characters you should focus on first if you are free to play. For example, like Johnny and Funny Valentine and potentially Gyro. But when you can get there, definitely can start working on Diavolo. I have some plans for him in the future that I want to do. I still think he's good. The way I make it sound seems like he's bad, but compared to everyone else, if you compared Diavolo to Cars, Vamp Dio, Risotto, maybe potentially Risotto, I can hear an argument for him, but he's better than those 2, right? If I go over here, I think he's better than Kakyoin. I think he's definitely better than Gappy. So you're already narrowing the list, and he's sort of there. But then, like I said before, would you rather a Koichi, a Johnny, Gyro, boom? So you already have 4 there. You need a tank, Jotaro, a Diego. Okay, you have 1 more person who are using. That's sort of the list. There's so many other characters you want to go for and put on your team first. He just sometimes doesn't make the cut, but that's okay. I still love him. If you have any questions in the comments, please feel free to ask. As always, I hope you enjoyed this video. That is Ultimate Diavolo, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!